Hello, welcome back to another Petroglyphs in the Sky UFO show. How is everybody doing tonight? Glad you guys are with us. We took a few weeks off. I was working on another project on my Haunted Encounter Adventures YouTube page. And we are back and glad you guys are here. Welcome back. My name is Jeff Woolwine. I'm a resident of Phoenix, Arizona, born and raised in Phoenix. And out here trying to figure out what the Phoenix Lights is. I successfully matched these UFOs that we see in the skies of Phoenix to the Hohokam Indian rock art that's carved out there on the mountains around Phoenix. Two of these UFOs. And and the rock art actually tells a story on what these Phoenix Lights and all these UFOs really are. It actually goes into the history, the real history of Phoenix, Arizona, not what the archaeologists are telling us, but the true history on what Phoenix, Arizona, rose out from the formal civilization. This fiery bird, Phoenix, came out of the formal civilization known as the Phoenix. So, yeah. Glad you guys are here. We're going to talk a little bit about the petroglyphs. And I also have a real cool new UFO sighting that was filmed in Canada. And some lights are going on out there. That was really cool. We're also going to talk about the Easter Island petroglyph, rock art. Because I was kind of checking out some of the moais out there, the statues with the top knots on their heads, they look like hats, but they're called top knots. And I was kind of looking at the birds that's carved on their backs, and it kind of triggered the little light bulb in my head. I'm thinking, wait a minute, those carvings of the birds are some of the carvings of the birds on South Mountain in Phoenix. And I kind of started looking more into the art of the Easter Island. And there is a little bit of connection there. There's not much to go on when it comes to the Easter Island. There is, some rock art there. Not a whole lot of it like there is, on the mountains of Phoenix and other parts of the world. But yeah, what I could kind of, take a look at, it kind of resembles some of the rock art in Phoenix. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. Okay, so let's get things started. I'm glad you guys are here. Like I said earlier, I've been off the airways for a few weeks because I've been working on Haunted Encounter Adventures. Check this out on my YouTube channel. My wife and I, we go off and we investigate haunted locations, and we do spirit boxes out there, and I take the SLS camera and we hunt ghosts. And so if you're into the paranormal, check that site out. I'm not allowed to go into a lot of details on what's been going on behind the curtain, so to speak. But yeah, some major things are developing with my page and with some of the haunted locations that my wife and I and others that we have joined forces with. Arizona Ghost Adventures team. Sometimes we go off with them and we hunt ghosts and things like that together. And there's a lot of things going on that I'm not allowed to talk about right now. Let's hope that it goes through. But yeah, it looks like it might. So a lot of neat things going on with that. And so remember, you heard it here first, folks. At least what I can tell you anyway. But I'm kind of excited. Like I say, I really hope that this goes through. I won't know until next month. But yeah, look for stuff, upcoming exciting news on our Facebook page, Haunted Encounter Adventures. Just want to say, I can't say a lot, but yeah, it's really cool. It's kind of cool how things are going. And I want to say, a big shout out to Rita. So she's helping us out a lot in that category from Arizona Ghost Adventures. And it's going to be great. So Haunted Encounter Adventures, check it out. Check us out on Facebook and watch for that special announcement. Hopefully it'll go through. Oh, Right? So big stuff going on. Haunted Encounter Adventures. Check it out. Find us on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe there, and find us on Facebook, where you will get behind the scenes on what's going on, photographs of our adventures, and also, make sure you join too. If you have paranormal stuff that you want to share or do some ghost investigations, man, come to my channel. Hook it up. And let's see what kind of footage you've got. Okay, the Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky, Landscape for the Spirits, True Stories, Myths, Legends, and UFOs over Phoenix. This is my book. This is 15 years in the making. Lots of sky watching out there. Like I said before, I was born in Phoenix. And I have been seeing these UFOs in the sky ever since I was a kid. That's why it made me go on a hunt to find out exactly what is going on in the skies of Phoenix, in my hometown. And, that old saying, seek and you shall find. Well, I found a lot more than what I was really kind of prepared for. There was a lot of stories on what these Phoenix Lights is and what UFOs are, and so I was going down that path, right? But the evidence and the history that I was learning through the Native American rock art and all the other UFO sightings that goes on there, and was the history and the evidence was taking me down another road. And completely different than what everybody else is thinking what these Phoenix Lights is. But the evidence and the history of these lights that I was learning from hiking, many, many years on South Mountain and understanding the petroglyphs, and having a Native American shaman teach me the petroglyphs and the ways to understand the rock art out there. It really turned my head around, man. It really put me in this another direction on what these UFOs are, what Phoenix Lights really is, and what we can prove. This is not hearsay. Like I said before, I learned all this stuff from a Native American who took me up on South Mountain to explain to me what these spirals and orbs in the sky and stick figures and lizard men and all these anthropomorphs were actually explaining. And so once I was up there and watching South Mountain, because I watched South Mountain for many, many years on the east side there, and I watched these things come out of the sky and drop down on the mountain and then leave the mountain. And when I went out there to find out, because, I'm looking for some kind of evidence, because I saw something go down, I saw something come out. And so I go out there, and what do I find? I find a petroglyph carving panel of a stick figure guy looking up at the exact same orb or diamond or worm or serpent looking thing in the sky. The exact same thing that I saw the day before was carved out there on the rocks. This is why I call my little adventure here Petroglyphs in the Sky, because this is what's going on here. All these petroglyphs out there are actually, in fact, UFO sightings. And, no one has ever discovered this before. So I was the first one to actually prove that the rock art in Phoenix is actually talking about the Phoenix Lights, what they are, where they come from, what they're all about. It's a whole history. The whole history of Phoenix, Arizona is carved like sacred scrolls around Phoenix, Arizona. And it talks about what these beings are. And so I not only did I learn the petroglyphs, I learned like the changing of the seasons, just like what the Hohokam Indians did. Hohokams is a Pima word, Pima name for those who are gone, those who came up missing, those who vanished, because we don't know what happened to the Hohokam people. They were here for 1,000 years and they disappeared with no trace. And they left all these clues behind on their activity, their lifestyle, what was here, who they interacted with, what kind of things they left behind, as far as the tombs. Yes, there are gold tombs on South Mountain, and they're sacrificing altars, everything that you kind of see like in Mexico. as far as the Aztecs and the Mayans, stuff like that. All that history, culture is pretty much here in Phoenix. And the archaeologists don't talk about this, but this is what the petroglyphs are talking about. This is what South Mountain has shown me through my adventures out there, through my hiking and exploring, on trying to figure out what was going on here. And also the first park ranger, Charles Holbrook, from the 1930s. When he was park ranger here on South Mountain, the natives at that time told Charles, who the Hohokam people were, where they actually went, how to understand the petroglyphs, and where to protect these tombs. And that's exactly what he did. And after he died in the late 40s, all his information on what he discovered as far as the tombs, the altars, the gold, the Mayans being here in Phoenix, all that stuff was buried, not talked about anymore, in a folder in the Phoenix Library, Arizona room on the 4th floor. It's like a type of government room or whatever. And I accidentally stumbled across that after my year exploring South Mountain and seeing the UFOs in the sky and matching them to the rock art. I actually, wanted to see what the library had to say about South Mountain and Phoenix, and I accidentally came across this folder. And when I did, because I'm finding altars and I'm finding tombs and I'm finding evidence of the Mayans being here. As soon as I opened up that folder, boom, it's talking about Charles Holbrook, and he's talking about the tombs and the gold and the Mayans and the sacrifice and the giants that walked here in Phoenix. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a respected park official here, a very respected man, and investigating him, I found that he was very respected in the park and recreation field, not only here in Phoenix, but California, Utah, New Mexico. There's stuff on him that goes all over the west coast of the United States. So he just wasn't, just one guy telling these stories. Actually, he was a bigger man, and everybody respected him. And so I'm thinking to myself, if this guy is talking about altars and sacrificing and gold tombs on South Mountain and how the Spanish conquistadors were here, how the Mayans were here, and he's talking about how these Hohokam people disappeared. In his writings, it actually says, his little brochure that he handed out, the lost city of Cibola, the lost city of gold. And that's one of the reasons why the Spanish conquistadors came through this part of the Western world, was to look for that one of the 7 cities of gold. The archaeologist doesn't want to believe that the Spanish even came this far. But in my book, I show proof that they did. And also Charles Holbrook talks about this also, on how the Spanish were here. And that just backed up everything that I discovered that year before, because I'm going out and I'm finding all this stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, well, how come, the archaeologist isn't talking about this? Clearly there's a tomb there, right? And clearly these are sacrificing altars, right? Oriented towards the east. Those of you who understand how important the east is, you will understand that. This is very significant. Why these altars are oriented towards the east and some are oriented towards the west. The beginning sunrise and the ending sunset. And so when I open up that folder, boom, there it is. Everything that I discovered, boom, he backed it up. And this is 80 years later, right? This information hasn't been told in 80 years. And so basically, that is what this book is all about. It's color photographs, people, and how to understand the petroglyphs. It's not just my interpretations. This is the true understanding of what Phoenix is through many, many, many years of research. And this is hardcore facts. This isn't hearsay from someone coming in from another state, trying to make money and fame and all this stuff. This is hardcore evidence. This is back-breaking work. That mountain out there just tore up my knees something fierce, because I did a lot of hiking up there, a lot of sky watching. A lot of investigation. This is someone who actually went out there and tried to figure out what this stuff is. And I believe I did. I believe I have enough evidence to prove it. And this is what it's all about. That's what it comes down to, this book here, The Phoenix Lights, Landscape for the Spirits, True Stories, Myths, Legends, and UFOs over Phoenix. And you can find this on Barnes & Noble and eBay, and find it on ebooks. And, I'm not in this for money. I'm not in it for fame. I don't get any money from the book. I told the publishers to give my portions of the money to the foster kids in Phoenix, Arizona. So I am not making a dime off this. It's all about bringing this information to you. And if you can't get to South Mountain, then I bring South Mountain to you. And it talks about Charles Holbrook. It takes the reader on a magical type journey through time to understand what actually happened here in Phoenix, according to the petroglyphs, understanding the petroglyphs. This is a story set in stone. These are the rock art is speaking to you. And I put it all down into this magical story. So in a way, for not only to make it interesting, but to go and try to learn what's really here. And I want people to go out there and do what I do. Go out there for years, and not just 1 year. You have to go out there for a few years and wait for these beings to come out of the sky. Wait for these beings to leave the mountain. Follow the sun. Follow the seasons. Understand the rock art. Understand what's truly here on South Mountain. Look at the tombs that are on South Mountain. On my website, on my YouTube channel, make sure make sure you hit the subscribe button, and you like and share this channel. All my videos have a link to my website, and on my website you can see some petroglyphs there, and you can see what Charles Holbrook is talking about, and all this information is right there on my website. It goes along with this book, and you can learn a little bit about Charles and what he has to say about Phoenix and the petroglyphs and the Hohokam people and things like that. And so yeah, that's what it is, man. That's why I'm here. I've been doing this for like well over 20 years now. And I did the History Channel. I did the pilot for the UFO Hunter show. I did the pilot for the Ancient Aliens TV series. I've been on a lot of cable shows, lots of news reports. And now this is where it's at. I'm trying to get this information out that, look, I believe that these things are different. This is not nuts and bolts technology here that we're dealing with. That's all good and gravy. If aliens and spaceships and flying saucers and crafts are here, that's great. I think what the majority of the people are seeing in the skies is something else. I believe that these lights are living entities, are living creatures. I actually kind of prove that with not only backing it up with what the petroglyphs talk about, but also my UFO sightings that has been analyzed. My stuff has been analyzed. My stuff isn't fake. It's not photoshopped or anything like that. All this stuff is legit. All this stuff is real. I can back up everything that I say through history, through what Phoenix, Arizona's history talks about. And that's basically what it is. And so yeah, and I think a lot of people don't understand this yet, but my information and my work is slowly but surely getting out there. That some of these other UFO researchers are just now coming to the conclusions that maybe my findings and my discoveries are correct, that these things are not crafts, they're not ships, they're actually living beings, living entities. And so yeah, I was the first one to prove that. There was a lot of people before me, that had that idea, but I went a step further. I actually proved it, and I don't think anybody else has done that before. And so yeah, that's basically what this book is about. If you want to understand Phoenix, if you want to know what the lights really are in the skies, they're not flares, they're not crafts. These things are living creatures, and that's what history tells us through the rock art, through the Hohokam Indians, through the Mayans, through all this history that has always been here with us. Not only through the rock art, but some of these ancient scrolls, it's like the Anunnaki scrolls like that, and Sumerian texts, and all the stuff that's carved on the boulders out there, on these rocks. It's talking about the same type of entity that was here. The Anunnaki, things like that. That's kind of what we're kind of dealing with here. And yeah, so basically, I don't have a lot of time for it tonight, but I know I can babble on this. But Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky, Landscape for the Spirits, True Stories, Myths, Legends, and UFOs over Phoenix. Check it out, man. Also, find me on Facebook. Contact me on Facebook. Send me your UFO videos. I'd love to see your UFO videos. A lot of people send me photographs, and photographs are really hard to analyze because it could be anything. That's why I always say, try to use a video camera. If you're seeing these things in the skies a lot, cell phones just don't do it justice. Video cameras, and always show how the object leaves the sky. A lot of people, they cut off these videos, and it's just hard to analyze that way. So if you're gonna go off and be a sky watcher and film UFOs, get yourself a good digital camera, and always film how the object leaves the sky. All right, let's get this stuff going. So we are going to talk about Easter Island. And these are the moais. They're called moais. And that's the top knot, those little hats. Let me get stuff organized here. And they're not hats. They're top knots. They're called top knots. And they look like hats. But this is interesting too, because when they first found this island, I believe most of the statues were torn down, probably with an earthquake or something happened, and the statues were torn down. And if memory serves me right, it was actually the Japanese that went back in there and restored the moais, the statues. And one thing is interesting. These statues aren't faced towards the sea because it's an island out there. I believe it's the Pacific Ocean. Could be the Atlantic. Please forgive me. I'm a little lost. It's right off the coast of Florida. How about that? And so yeah, when they've put back these statues, they noticed that the statues weren't looking out towards the sea, but they were looking inward. They were looking into the island. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, on why they were looking towards the island, and my idea of it, my theory on it, because it all has to do with these entities in the skies, these UFOs, these creatures, these beings, and I believe that that's the reason why they're looking inward instead of outward on the ocean or on the sea. What's up with the island in the first place? I mean, look at these statues. What are they made out of? Look at that. These they look more lava, right? Volcano, right? And in my past shows, what do I say about the fault lines and volcanoes and stuff like that? It attracts these beings to these energy spots around the world, to these fault lines. And there's a lot of volcanic dead volcanoes there on Easter Island, and they made their statues out of the rocks from some of the lava, right? And so that's the reason why I believe that these beings were here. Now, there was two, from what I understand, there was two different types of people that lived on this island. There were the upper class, the people who lived above ground, and then there were people who lived underground. And we really won't go into that too much, but they made these moais, and a lot of people say that they walked into place, and I believe they did. There's a lot of archaeologists out there that has proved on how they motioned these big Moai statues, and they actually walked across the ground to get into position on where they are today. And I believe that, so I think they've proven that. And so yeah, I believe that it has everything to do with the energy that's there, the fault line. The island was made by a huge, massive volcano, and it attracts these beings, it attracts these entities. And I believe that these people saw these creatures in the sky, and they're carving like these kind of weird looking birds, right? That's weird. Let's get into that. Let's look at some of these some of the rock art, and then we'll talk about it as we go. So here's South Mountain, all right, in Phoenix, Arizona. Now look at these kind of strange birds, right? This is in Phoenix. These are the petroglyphs by the Hohokam Indians. And I want you to concentrate on the bird here, okay? And to be honest with you, like, we know that it's not a quail bird, because we have a lot of quails running around here in Phoenix. And a matter of fact, I believe the archaeologists, they don't understand this. They don't want to believe this or something. But the rock art is showing some of these stick figure natives with the quail feather. And I believe that they used the quail as like a type of clan symbol, if you will, because the feather is inward, just as the quails that run around on the mountains today. And so we know that this is not a quail because he does not have a feather. But look at this beak here. I really don't know what kind of bird this is, because it doesn't look like anything that is around today. Actually, I'm starting to believe that this is an anthropomorph. Okay, this is a that the archaeologists call some of these petroglyphs, these shape-shifting petroglyphs, right? Anthropomorphs. They're changing. They're shape-shifting. Sometimes they look like serpents. Sometimes they look like people. Sometimes they look like worms. Sometimes they look like diamonds. Sometimes they look like maybe dogs or sheep, and you can tell that they are not real animals by the way that their feet are pointing in opposite directions. Like most animals, all animals, their feet are going in the same direction. But yet these anthropomorphs, these feet, one's going right, one's going left. They are not normal, right? So we call them anthropomorphs. And to me, looking at it and watching the things in the sky and seeing how they're shape-shifting, they're anthropomorphing. And I've seen a lot of them look like lambs. I've seen a lot of them kind of resemble cows, if you will. Lots of serpents in the sky. Quetzalcoatl is alive and well and flying around Phoenix, man. I've seen that creature many, many times. And this is why I believe that these things are not spaceships. These things are alive, man. They're changing. They're changing shape. They're changing colors. They know who's watching, who's not watching. They do not cast any shadows. So many times I've seen them go over South Mountain, and I don't see any shadows that are casting from these things. And, the spirals, I talk about spirals a lot on how they're vortexes or their doorways into the underworld. And that's what the Native Americans say, that these anthropomorphs, these shapeshifters, these spirits, if you want to call them that, are going down into the underworld through these doorways. And these spirals are symbols to where these doorways are located at. So the spirals are going clockwise. It's a doorway in. If a spiral is going counterclockwise, it's a doorway out. If the spiral is ending down, 9 times out of 10, most of the time, that spiral is going to end at a crack in the boulder, or a crack in that stone, or a crack in that wall, or a crack in the whole canyon going down the side of the mountain. So many times I ran into that, where this huge canyon from top to bottom of the mountain, this huge water canyon, there's spirals all over it, and they're all facing down. That whole canyon is the doorway, is the emergence point to where these beings will go down into the underworld. Now, on a scientific analysis, like I said before, South Mountain is created by a fault line. And so they're going down into that energy source. They're going down into that fault line. They're absorbing the energy. Sometimes they hang up in the sky. That's when we're talking about like the Phoenix lights. These lights are in the sky. And that's when the spiral doorway is going to end up. All right. So there's a vortex in the sky. There's a door in the sky, and these beings are coming out from that doorway, out from the doorway, out from that vortex, and they're right over that energy spot. All right. They're right over there, hovering over that fault line. They're absorbing the energy. Now, when the sun changes, right, changes seasons, it moves. The sun moves, right, changes seasons. The sun is moving, and it's going to different areas where these fault lines are. They're aligning with this energy source. They're aligning with these fault lines, all right, and that's when these beings follow the sun. That's why some months we see a lot of UFO activity, and then other months we don't. Or we might see one, maybe two, right? But then the after the equinox or after the solstice, boom, they're back, right? They're over here now, right? They're absorbing that energy. They're following the sun as the sun moves along these energy lines around the earth. That's basically how to track these beings. So it all depends on where you're located at. The first thing I say, go out there and check out your mountains, look for spirals, petroglyphs with spirals, look for the anthropomorphs, look for some of these lizard carving petroglyphs, all these weird shape-shifting things. That is a source. Understand the history of where you live at. All right. So if you live in a place where there are no spirals and things like that, doesn't necessarily mean that these creatures don't visit your area. Look for the fault lines. See where the fault lines is in your area. And I would start concentrating in that area, and you need to watch at least 2 years. This is a very long, very patient hobby, if you will, or investigation if you want to investigate UFOs, or hunting UFOs. Don't give up that first year. You need to keep going out there. All right. If you don't see anything in 2 years, then it's time to look somewhere else. But this is a very long process to find out if a mountain, I call them active, if a mountain is active or not. Because there's a lot of mountains out there with spirals, and the mountain is not active, right? For some reason, these beings aren't going there anymore, or it's not time. Okay, it's not time yet. South Mountain, is active. We've been getting those lights, for years now. So we know South Mountain is active, and a lot of other mountains around Phoenix, they're active also. So when you come to your area, wherever you're living at, and you want to hunt UFOs, find out where the fault lines is. Find out where the mountains are. See if there's some kind of story through the Native Americans that talk about spirits. Star Mountain, the Australian Mountains in Phoenix, Arizona. Stuff like that, man. The clues are there, man. The clues are there. You got to follow the clues. They tell you, this whole time, all these generations, man, they tell you where to look for these beings at. You just need to open up your eyes and understand, where to look. And I'm directing you in the places to look. I didn't know this when I was going into this. I learned all of this by my own. And like I said, the first year they were here, they came and go from a mountain, certain times of the months. And then they were gone, and then they came back after the equinox or after the solstice when the sun changes. And then the next year it repeated itself. And the next year it repeated itself. That is the pattern. So, and that took 3 years to verify that. The first year was cool. Second year was exciting. Third year was fact. That's it. and it's been going on for thousands of years. This has been good. This is nothing new. These lights in the sky and lights visiting the mountains and stuff, and these energy lines, this is nothing new. This has been going on probably since the beginning of time. But it's up to us to pay attention, right? We have to pay attention. And if you want to hunt them, like I did, find out where the fault lines are. Find out where the mountains are with spirals. Watch that mountain for at least 2 years, right? Wait, don't give up. All right. So, and it's going to be a long process, but I tell you what, if that area, if that mountain or whatever you're watching, that fault line is active, you're going to see some amazing stuff, man. You're going to see some great lights. You're going to see some flying serpents. You're going to see some flying diamonds. You're going to see stuff that's going to blow your mind. And all I can say is get your cameras ready, because it's great. Because once you see it, no one's going to believe you. No one is going to believe you, man. You got to get that stuff on film. I'm not talking about photographs, all right? I'm not talking about cell phone. I'm talking about good video camera. And if you can, use a tripod. This is all my experience, right? And I've seen some stuff that the public is not ready for. I mean, it is some mind-boggling stuff. I've only shown, in my 20 years, I've only shown bits and pieces of what I filmed. There is a lot of scary things out there in the skies, and that's the reason why the government isn't going to talk about this, because it's going to take the public a while to understand this. Matter of fact, when I was doing the UFO Hunter Show on the History Channel, they were telling me, now, Jeff, you can't say, entities, you can't say beings, you can't say creatures, you can't say all this stuff. You need to call them crafts. He says, you're filming some bizarre stuff and the public is not ready for this. And I'm like, dude, and this was in 2007. And I first discovered this stuff in 2005. I proved this stuff in 2005 when the show finally aired in 2007. That's when I ended up doing it. And they're telling me the public isn't ready. And I'm like, man, the public better get ready because it's here. And, 10 years later, now I'm getting people, messaging me, dude, I filmed a flying snake. Dude, I saw a flying diamond. Oh, I saw this thing that's shape-shifting in the sky. Yes, that's what's here, right? That's what can be proven. That's what the petroglyphs talk about. That's what these ancient scrolls are talking about. These creatures in the sky, are they calling them spaceships? Are they calling them crafts? Are they calling them big boats in the sky because they didn't know what crafts were back in the day? No. Calling them spirits. Some of them call them angels, right? Some of them call them, creatures, right? Some say Nephilim, all these words. But are they saying flying boats? Because that's what a ship would be back to them. Oh, all these aliens climbed in this boat and they flew off, right? Are they saying that? No, they're not saying that at all, right? These things are creatures. They're living entities. They're living beings, right? They're shape-shifting, right? They're changing shape. And I believe this is probably one of them, one of these birds, right? Because look at that. Look, let's examine this. See? Look at that there. Let's examine this. Let's blow it up more. Let's get an idea of what we're looking at here. Look at this. When you look at this, this is like an orb. This is a UFO orb in the sky, right? And what do I do? What I've been talking about in these past shows? That these orbs is just the beginning. What we see now, these lights, these orbs, that's just the beginning. These things are going to they're going to change. They're going to shapeshift. They're going to anthropomorph in the sky right before your eyes. I've seen it. I've video recorded it. I've filmed it over South Nasa. I've seen what these things have done. They can do. These orbs change. They will shape-shift before your eyes. They will start looking like a man. They will change into a snake. They will change into something weird, right? That is what's here. That is what we need to get ready for. That's what's here, man. I've seen it. That's what these petroglyphs are talking about. They're changing shape. And I believe this one is trying to look like a bird. This is the beginning of it. There's an orb. And then there's the line. Remember those lines I talk about? Right? The lines coming down from the orbs. Out from that line, they either grow another orb or they grow arms, maybe legs, right? Mm-hmm. There it is, right there. There's that line. There's like, what is that? Like another orb, right? See that? So we have a bigger orb. We have another orb here. Now we have another line, right? Coming out from this UFO orb, correct? And look what it's doing. It's shape-shifting. It's morphing, right? And look at the feet. You see the way that's zigzagging there? Look at that. You see the way that's zigzagging? I've seen a lot of petroglyphs up there. A lot of what they call like lizard people. We'll probably talk about that later. Those of you who've been watching my past shows, you know what I'm talking about. With the line coming down, because I mean they call them lizard people because they have that line, the tail that comes down from the legs or whatever. And but that's actually not a tail at all. That's a line. And they use that line to connect to other orbs, to connect to other creatures, and also to pick things up, like people. The petroglyphs out there on South Mountain depict these beings with these long lines, tails, if you will, picking people up by the head and carrying them off in the sky. Not only people, but also animals. And this, in my opinion, is what the rock art is telling us what happened to these Hohokam people, because they were here for 1,000 years and they disappeared. Archaeologists are saying, well, you know, the Hohokam people, they migrated somewhere else because it got too hot. There's no evidence on where they went. Even when you and I move, we take our belongings with us. But yet the Hohokam people didn't. They left all their stuff behind and simply vanished off the face of the earth. This just didn't happen to the Hohokam people. This happened on all these tribes in that area at the same time. There are different tribes that didn't even know one another that came up missing in history at the same time. And what does the petroglyphs talk about? The petroglyphs talk about these orbs in the sky with these lines, not strings, right? These orbs, not balloons, right? These orbs in the sky with these lines coming down. Look at it on my website, on the front page of my website. You'll see what I'm talking about. These lines are coming down. They're picking people up, and they're taking them off into the sky. There's a lot of petroglyphs out there on South Mountain that actually are interacting with the humans. That these beings they played like some kind of game with them, right? There's a man-made pyramid on South Mountain on Holbrook Trail. You can see it on my website. I believe it's in my book. I talk about it in my book. There's a man-made pyramid there. There's a tomb inside that pyramid. And about halfway up, there's a ledge. And it's been carved out and chiseled out. And there's petroglyphs there. And it shows a man being taken away by a fork. All right? And we'll talk about that fork later on. Those of you who've been watching my shows know what that fork, I'm talking about that fork and how that's scary, right? That's scary. That UFO that looks like a fork is scary because he picks people up. And that's exactly what's going on that hill. They're picking people up. Whether they're bringing them back, I don't know, right? But they played games. They interacted with these beings, with these creatures in the sky. They would pick these people up, take them up into the sky, either bring it back down or never return. Maybe a type of sacrifice. Maybe that's what was going on up there. That's why that cliff, all right, that carving up there on that man-made pyramid is like an altar, like a place where it was like a sacrifice, and these beings came down and picked these people up as a type of human sacrifice, right? It's in my book. It's in some of my other past shows. So back to these legs. So I get off track. Sorry. There's so much information, right? So there's a lot of petroglyphs out there. These lizard men. Back to the lizard men. And there's like one, maybe two that's very significant to these legs. They're in a lightning bolt position. They're lightning bolts. And I believe this is representing energy, right? Just like what we're seeing. These are energy. These are energy lines, right? And he's anthropomorphing into this body. And it just so happens that, he's mimicking a bird because they mimic serpents, they mimic snakes, they mimic people, they mimic diamonds, they mimic orbs, right? They're looking like other things, right? So this one is trying to look like a bird. Okay? That is what these petroglyphs of these birds are talking about on South Mountain. Now look at this. There's one of those lizard guys that I was talking about right there. But I mean, and look, this is the fork. So if we only look at this halfway, and we only concentrate on the bottom, we can see that pitchfork, that fork right there. And then also we can see a fork there, right? Then we have this thing here. What is that? Looks like a possible orb. And he's growing legs or something, right? And it's and the bird's in the sky. These things are in the sky. They're looking up at this thing. So these creatures, there's 3 anthropomorph UFOs right there. And look, see, it's carved high up on the mountain. It's carved high up on the cliff. This is located on Holbert Trail on South Mountain, right? And in my past shows, I explain on why some of these petroglyphs are carved high up on cliffs, because the artists, when you look at the petroglyphs, you're supposed to include the whole landscape in with the art. So there's a real high petroglyph, okay, up on a cliff, and you have to look up to see it. The artist is telling you, look, I saw this in the sky, and I don't have a video camera the way you guys do. I don't have a photograph. The only way to explain on what I saw and where I saw it at was to carve it high, because I saw it in the sky. And that's exactly where these petroglyphs are carved at. They're carved high up on the side of a cliff. And look, there's the sky. So we're looking up to see these petroglyphs, because the artist is telling you, look, I saw this in the sky. Okay. Let's move on. Let's put this right over here for now. I got some more. Let's see what this is. Okay. This is another petroglyph on South Mountain. Right? And there's the birds. Right? And look at that. Okay, let's blow it up. Take a look at this. Let's take this guy over here. Let's just move him there for a minute. Now let's look at this panel. This is cool. Let's start here with the diamond. See that? So it's an anthropomorph, right? He's changing shape. There's the diamond. I found many diamonds in the sky. Matter of fact, on my birthday, March 26, 2005. Those of you who know, who've seen my UFO sightings, you saw that diamond fly right over my windowsill, right? That's crazy. That's what this is. That's the diamond, okay? There's that line, right? There's that tail, because they want to call it a lizard man. And here's his legs, right? And then here's his arms, right? And then here's his head and his neck, okay? So let's look at this a little bit more. Blow it up. So let's examine this. In understanding this, you see that there? That is an orb. That is a UFO orb. Here comes the line. He's morphing. He's changing shape. Here comes his body. He's a diamond now. See that? And he's growing these arms. Okay? He's growing these arms. Now he's got these legs. Now he's got the tail, right? And when you look at it, this is like a pitchfork. Back to that pitchfork again. See, there's a line. There's his legs. Here's another pitchfork down here. There is the tail, right? No, it's not a lizard. Okay, they're not talking about a lizard here. This is a shape-shifting entity, an anthropomorph living being, a UFO to us. But there's a lot more going on here. Let's move on. Let's move over here. Here goes that bird again. See that? But this time his feet are facing in the right direction. So maybe the artist is telling us, look, that's a real bird, right? It's not in a zigzag or lightning bolt, but it has the same characteristics. Now we have this one. Look at that there. Look at this. Remember I'm talking about the legs? Look at that. See this? Look at that. Oh, look at this body here and the line. Okay? And look at that. An orb with a dot in the middle, right? See that? There's the line. He's morphing into a bird, right? Here we have a man down here, or another anthropomorph, right? And then we got the tail and the legs. See that? Anthropomorph creature. Then we have this guy here. Look at his feet, right? His feet are going opposite directions. There's a clue right there. This actually, look at his body. Doesn't it kind of look like a barbell that we see in the skies today, like a barbell UFO or a bow tie UFO? Some of you know what I'm talking about. I've seen him before over South Mountain. Look, he's growing arms and legs. Look at that. See that? What if his head is the orb? And he's drawing that line there. See that? And then we have this. Look at that. We have this dog. It's probably a coyote here. And we know he's normal because his feet are going the same direction. He's got a tail. And he's looking at this huge bird, right? Okay. And another thing, too. Look at where this carved at. This isn't just a coincidence, right? Everything about this rock art is telling a story. Now, this is in a crack. It's in a huge canyon. Now, I can't recollect if there was any spirals there or not. But just seeing this right here clearly is a doorway. This right here, down here. See? They're carved on the wall. And it's right above this doorway, right? This crack, this crevice. See that? Okay. Let's put this over here. All right, now we have another bird on South Mountain. And then we have let me get rid of some of these real quick so I don't get them. Because this is good. This is a good example of what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's look at this cliff here. See the bow tie there? See, that's what I'm talking about. Now look at that. See, it's not just bent knees. This is for a reason. This is talking about energy. This is energy. This is the bow tie UFO or barbell UFO. He's morphing, right? There's an orb there, a UFO orb. He's morphing into a bow tie UFO, and he's got these arms, right? These stick figure looking arms looking things, and his legs representing energy. Now we have this bird. Look at that. Isn't that interesting? And where's his tail at? I don't see a tail on him. And where's his wings? Right? Where's his wings? But look at this here. Concentrate on this dot. Look at this right here. Concentrate on his body. See that? If you just look at that, at his body, and you take away his head and his beak and his neck and his legs, and you just look at that circle, Doesn't that look like a orb that we see in the skies today? Is that a UFO orb in the sky? Is this a UFO orb? Because he has no tail, he has no wings. And if the artist is going to draw wings, I mean, surely he would have put it like right here. I mean, he knows what he's doing. The artist knows what he's doing. And on this sacred mountain, on South Mountain, they're not really concerned about natural animals. This is not something to remember by. These natural animals, coyotes, regular snakes, javelinas, birds, quails. We already know what that is. That's not significant here. That's not something to remember. This is why these carvings are here, to tell a story for us to understand. I believe it's our generation to understand these petroglyphs, because it's happening now. These things are back. And to understand our future, we must understand our past. And here's the prehistoric photographs that has been sitting on these mountains around the earth forever. Forever, man. The evidence and it has always been here. The photographs, the prehistoric photographs of UFO sightings to us, we call them UFOs, has been carved on these mountains all along. And they're showing us what to look for. Because these people saw them and recorded them way longer before us. So we need to understand what they were seeing in the skies. We need to understand what they were dealing with here. And the only way that they could explain this is they drew it on certain places where the event took place at. Now, there's only few mountains out there that are sacred. Those are the ones with spirals on them. Those are the ones with anthropomorphs on them. Those are the ones with the lizard people and stick figure man looking up at orbs in the sky. Those are the special mountains. Those are the fault line mountains. There's a lot of carvings out there, a lot of other mountains where it's only talking about ceremonies such as kachinas and things like that. Hunting and gathering, right? That's all fine and groovy. Groovy. That's great too. But what we want to concentrate on is the sacred mountains with the anthropomorphs. Those are photographs of what we see in the skies today. And they're telling us, look at this. Look, if we look at this, if we examine this, this is the orb. This is a UFO orb. There's another orb right there. This is another UFO orb. See that? He's morphing. He's growing these lines out, right? He's connecting to this orb here. And he's mimicking a bird. He wants to look like a bird. But he doesn't have a tail. He doesn't have any wings. See that? And then we have this UFO here. Okay. Now let's get into this. Here is on the backside of a moai on Easter Island. Let's look at this. Look at that bird there. Now look. Isn't that strange? Look, he's got toes. Right? Let's blow it up. How many toes does he have? One, two, three, four, five. Right? It's like a birdman. Where's his feathers? Where's his wings? Where's his tail? He's an anthropomorph. Look, there's a circle. Look. Now let's look at that. And now let's look at this bird. see what I'm talking about here? I'm going to move out of the way here. I'm going to move out of the way. Maybe not. Okay. But look at that. Okay, here we go. Let's move me out of the way. And let's look at this bird here compared to that bird there. Do you see what I'm talking about here? See what I'm getting at? Whoops. I'm going to mess everything up here. I'm just going to have everything all screwed up by the time we're done. Okay, so there's that bird. Now, where is this over here? Is it this one? No, it's not that one. Okay, it's this one. Yeah, look at that. You see what I'm talking about? You see the resemblance here? Only this guy, he's got, you know, like what looks like bird feet. But this one over here, he's got feet, man. He is an anthropomorph, right? He's morphing. He's changing. He's not a regular bird. And then look at this here. Look at the circle. Is that a UFO orb? Is that the orb? Is that the UFO orb? Are they standing? And look how they're joining, right? They're touching. They're touching the orb. They're touching the circle. There's the orb. You see what I'm talking about here? Look at the similarities. See the orb? This right here is probably the land, right? This is the land, and the orb is coming out of the land. And look at this here. This is the doorway, right? At the emergence point. He's coming up out of the hill, out of the mountain. He's an orb, right? Look at that there. That is what I find really interesting. Very, very interesting. Is it a coincidence? Now, these people didn't even know the holocom, right? They didn't know the holocom. But yet the art. Here we go again. Now look at this. So, and look at the rock. Okay. Look at what kind of rock this is. This looks like lava, right? So I don't know if this boulder was knocked down, but they're facing down. So was this boulder carved that way? Or did it originally stand up and was knocked down? Now, if it was carved this way, these creatures, these anthropomorphs, are looking down to the fault line, right? To the energy. But as it stands now, you know, we don't know if this was, you know, pushed down, if it fell down, or if it was carved that way. To me, it looks like it was carved that way, and they're telling us. Look, they're looking down. They're looking to the energy. They're looking to the vortex. They're looking to the underworld. Right? Here's the bird again. And then look at this. Look at this. See the orb with the dot? How many times have I talked about these orbs, these UFO orbs, with these dots in the middle, right? Or the lights when you see them, they have dots in the middle. Coincidence? Look, he doesn't even look like a full bird, man. He's morphing. He's changing shape. There's the orb. And he's morphing into this creature, right? This is another way of looking at this rock art. Oh yeah, so this is a petroglyph here. I think, okay. All right. Before we bring that in, let's examine this rock art first. This is on South Mountain, right? Now, when these beings, when these like type of human petroglyphs are laying down like this, it usually means death. Okay, so there's probably a grave somewhere around there. Okay, and it's hard to tell. You might have a tail there somewhere, right? But and usually the arms are face down. So, but this one is carved up, but he's clearly laying down, and that normally represents death. Okay, so let's leave that there, and let's bring in this one here. This is on the back of one of the moais in Easter Island. Now, I'm sorry that that watermark is there, but again, here we go. Look at the tail. See that? And then the legs, and then look, they're in, I like to call it the appeasement pose. They have their hands up in the air, right? And it's really sad that we can't see. And I looked all over the place for that image because I wanted to see what the head looked like. I couldn't find it anywhere. So if anyone has a photograph of this, what I'm talking about, please send it to me. I'd love to see the rest of this carving. So all we can actually go by is the body and the tail and the arms being up in the appeasement pose, just like this petroglyph here on South Mountain. We have the exact same stuff here as we have carved on the backs of the moai. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that neat? Okay. I've gone way over my time limit, so I need to hurry. Okay, so here we go again. This is the petroglyphs here on South Mountain, and then just like with that circle, just like what we saw on the back of the moai of that, that supposed anthropomorph bird, and there's the circle within a circle, right? It looked exactly like what was seen on the Easter Island statue. See? Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Here we go. Oh, well, I should have kept that picture up. But here, this is on the Easter Island statue. Here is a circle. There's the orb, right? Exact same petroglyph carving on South Mountain we just saw. Now we're seeing something similar on Easter Island. See that? And there's the dot in the middle. Here's another one. A circle with a dot in the middle. See that? The exact same type of stuff that we just saw carved on South Mountain in Phoenix. So we have the spirals. We talked about spirals. This is South Mountain. Okay. I believe. Okay. And this is a spiral on Easter Island, right? Look at that. Look at this. See? We have the exact same stuff. Same story, if you will. And look, I mean, it's spooky, dude. It looks like it's the same damn carving, man. Look at that. Look at this. Look, look, look. Now, is that creepy or what? Let's try to move this over here. Let's look at that. And let's move this over here. Right? Is that totally weird or what? Look. Is that weird? Come on, man. You can't get any clearer than this here. Spirals, doorways, emergence point to the underworld, to the fault lines, for the energy. That's it. Okay? That's what they're telling us here. The exact same thing we see on South Mountain, we are seeing on Easter Island. It's the same story. It's not just here on Easter Island, man. It's all over the world. There's spirals all over the world. And it's talking about the exact same thing. Energy, fault lines, symbols. Spirals are symbols. They're doorways into the underworld, doorways through another dimension, through another vortex. It's like looking into a hole, right? The spirals are looking into a hole. That's just crazy, right? Same stuff. And the information has always been with us. And we just haven't, looked at it this way, I guess. Now look at this. Here's another one. Here's another spiral. And where's it going? It's kind of like going clockwise, and it's going up into here, right? It's ending here, right? So the emergence point is somewhere here, and it's too bad that, because we have to look at the whole landscape, So I'm thinking that there's probably like a mountain, excuse me, or like some kind of wall or something on the right side of this moai, because we have an orb here, right? And the spiral is kind of oriented this way, right? The spiral is kind of going this way. It's stopping here. So somewhere around here, over in this direction here, is where the emergence point is the doorway. This is just a symbol. It's leading you to the area. It's not saying that spiral is that carving is where they go into the carving. That's not it at all. That's just a symbol on where to find it at. Where the spiral is ending at is where to look. So if the spiral is ending down, it's that crack in the stone, or it's the ground. If the spiral is ending to the right, then the doorway is over to the right somewhere, right? If the spiral is ending up, then the doorway is in the sky. So wherever that spiral is ending at is the direction on where the vortex is, on where the doorway is, on where the emergence point is. Wherever that spiral is ending at is the location to where it's on what it's at, right? Here's that fork again. And when we look at an Easter Island carving, I see the fork here and the fork also over here. See that? Now, this probably, not only is it, probably representing a frog, I don't know, some kind of, maybe another anthropomorph, right? Because he is inside here. Look at that. Look at these orbs, right? Look, orb, orb, orb. And my pitchfork, the pitchfork over here on South Mountain, right? Then those of you who know that I talk about these pitchforks, they're very scary. All right, now look. What is it doing? Is it growing? Is it anthropomorphing more, right? Have an orb, right? And then it's got like this funny shape, and it kind of looks like a frog, right? But it's not. It's a creature. It's a UFO. It's an entity. It's a UAP. It's a living being. And we see the exact same type of symbols that we find on South Mountain in Phoenix. Especially look at the orbs, right? And it's morphine. I believe that this is an orb here because it's really kind of carved out right there. See how this is kind of shaded, but this is more intact. So I'm saying that's an orb. That's an orb. That's an orb. They're connected. And it's growing something down on the bottom. The exact same stuff we find on South Mountain. It's just weird. Here we have two UFOs with the circle and the dot on South Mountain. Okay, I'm sure a lot of us have seen these orbs in the sky, right? You're going to see them on the video I'm about to present. I'm about to show you. You're going to see these orbs, right? And then we have the exact same type of formation on Easter Island. See the two circles? Now this right here, I mean, the only thing that they're lacking is the dot in the middle, but we have the two circles that are side by side on South Mountain. See that? And look, see, I believe this is probably the ground. This is the ground. This right here is the energy symbols here. And these two circular orbs, these light orbs, are right there on the ground. See that? Okay. Looks okay. Oh, here's this is on the White Tank Mountains in Phoenix, and this right here, these petroglyphs here. Let me get my arrow. This is South Mountain, right? Oh, I'm sorry, White Tank Mountains on the west side of Phoenix. This is Easter Island. Do you see the similarities here? You see what I'm talking about here? Is that weird? Looks the same, right? And it's neat too because, you know, like I said before, they in order to tell the story, they include the landscape in with the story. So they're telling us, look at this, see the nose? It's like a lizard, right? It's like a lizard's head. See that? Move this up. See? Is that crazy or what? We have these two UFO entities, and it's actually they're trying to make it like a lizard, right? So the lizard is coming out of the ground because they included the whole rock in with this. So the rock is coming out of the ground, right? So the lizard is coming out of the ground, and they're using these two circular UFO orbs, much like this over here. We have the two orbs, right? And it's energy. They're pulsating. Okay, that's why when we look at the lights and they're flickering like this, they're pulsating. And that's what they're trying to show you here. Here's the light, and they're pulsating, much like water. When you throw a rock in the water and the waves ripple, that's what these orbs do in the sky when they're absorbing the energy. They're rippling. They look like plasma. They look like energy. And they're rippling in the sky. Okay? And that's what the artist is trying to tell us. If it was a spiral, if these were spirals, then all the lines would be connected and it would end somewhere. But it doesn't. It's telling us that this is one solid thing. There's an orb there and it's rippling. It's energy. It's rippling. Much like this over here. We have two objects, two UFO objects here, and it's energy. It's pulsating. Okay, I believe that's it with the rock art. No, there's one more. Here's South Mountain. All right, now concentrate on this area here. Okay, look at this here. This is, like I said before, you know, these UFOs, these orbs, they morph, they shape shift, okay? He's changing shape, right? Now look at what we find on Easter Island. We have the orb and a line in the middle, and we have an orb with a line in the middle. See that? Coincidence? I'll let you be the judge on that. I think it's interesting. And this is what investigating is all about. This is what trying to understand what's going on. Boy, okay, this is cool. I really like this photograph a lot. This is way neat. And this kind of explains it all. If you notice, let's get my arrow going. Now this is interesting, okay? They erected this moai to face this mountain. And when you look at it, as the photographer does, it looks like the moai is inside the mountain. You see that? He is inside the mountain. I don't believe this is coincidence. They did everything for a reason. Nothing is coincidence out here, right? Everything they did, all these ancient ones, all these ancient tribal people back in the day did everything for a reason. It's not coincidence. This is for a reason. And they did this, and they're telling you that these moais, these beings, these creatures, these entities are inside the mountain. Is that crazy or what? When I saw that, I was like, man, that's it. Oh my goodness. Okay, so here we have the moai. All right, and it's carved on the floor. But what is he doing? He's looking up. Okay? Nothing is a coincidence. He's looking up, right? It's carved on the ground, and he's looking up into the sky. Okay? Now, let's look at this here. Some would say, well, they just fell over. They fell over in time. Well, what if they didn't? What if they were here in place? What if they were put that way? So this one's looking down, right? Looking down to the underworld. This one's looking up because he's looking in the sky. He's waiting for these creatures, waiting for the UFOs. This one's looking across the way. He's looking for these entities. And this one's looking looking over there. Right? What if this isn't a coincidence? And what if this just isn't, gravity or time that they're falling over? What if they were put in place this way? He's looking into the underworld. He's looking in the sky for them. He's looking for them coming out of the underworld. He's looking in the sky because there's a vortex in the sky. He's waiting for them to come out. He's looking across the island. He's looking over there. There must be a door over there. And he's looking in that direction for these UFOs, for these creatures. Right? What if that's the way that they made these statues to look? And when you look at it that way, it kind of makes sense. It does to me anyway. Okay, let's get to it. These are the latest sightings out there. What did I say? Canada? Okay, so let's take a look at this. And here we go. Look at this. All they're saying, oh, these are flares. These are flares. Oh, come on, you guys. Come on. We are so done with the flare, cover up or explanation. Come on, man. let's stop being ignorant and saying these and saying these are flares, right? The only people that are saying these are flares are the people that are looking for spaceships, okay? Oh, come on now. Our common sense tells us these are not flares, all right? There's no smoke. There was no airplane dropping them out. These things magically appeared in the sky. You didn't see them being shot from the ground. Come on now. Let's use our common sense here. These things are appearing in the sky. They came through a vortex door. There is a door right there. There is an energy source right there. And where are they over? They are over the mountains, right? They are over the mountains. Come on. Let's get real here. These are not flares. Look, that one's moving. That one is not, right? Come on now. They're not falling like flares do. This is what we need to look for, right? And so many people, oh, they must be flares because we were taught to look for spaceships, okay? No, this is what is credible. Look how they just appear in the sky. No airplane dropped it out. They weren't being shot up from the ground. There is no smoke. It is not illumination flare. It is not lighting up anything else. They are lights in the sky. They are living creatures. They are absorbing the energy from the fault line under the mountain there. See? Is this crazy or what? This is the latest sighting out there in Canada. I thought this was great. This is such a great sighting. Love it. And there's just so many people out, oh, they're flares. These got to be flares, man. There is so much evidence, man, when you look at it, when you study it, to tell you that, look, this is not flares. Flares, this does not make sense. And look how long they are lasting in the sky, people. Come on now. We know flares don't last that long. They burn out real fast. Okay, they don't sit there in the sky and hover. All right, they fall down. They drift away from each other. Come on now, these are not flares. And there's just so many people that want other people to believe that, and common sense tells us that it's not. Okay, I'm gonna end it that way. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you guys for being here and watching the show. And make sure you subscribe to the Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky right here on this YouTube channel. Check out my website. There's links below. There's also a link there on where to get my book. Find us on Facebook, the Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky. We will see you guys next time. Thank you so much. And we'll call it a night. See you guys. Bye-bye.